Now I think it'll be good to invite Pranjal on stage, and Pranjal would explain the problem statement. And Pranjal faced a certain issue, and this is something which is coming from somebody who works with customer on day-to-day basis. And typically, of course, customers raise feature requests, they face certain kind of pain points. And a job of a solution engineer was that they would write it down, then go to a product management team, and then probably put that in the roadmap. But that did not happen this time. So what happened? Let's hear it from Pranjal.
But thank you, Pranjal.
Yeah, great. So I'll start. So as I mentioned, I'm part of the solution engineering team at FlytBase, and I'm in direct contact with customers and partners who are using FlytBase. So today I'll be delving into how I was able to create a dashboard or kind of develop a feature that many customers were requiring based on the pain points and the requirements that they had. So let me just start. Yeah. So earlier, the traditional process for feature development would look like, first, the customers would reach out to the customer success team or the solutions engineering team, wherein we would go back to the PM team for taking the customer requirements. And then the PM team would help us in prioritizing the feature, developing the UX, and then the chain moves on. Then from UX developers start developing the feature, then QA happens, and again it comes back to the CS to finally deliver the product to the customer. But this is a very long process, and sometimes we don't have this time to actually because the customer problems are immediate and we need someone to tackle them very quickly. So what happens if we kind of eliminate this big traditional process? And as we are part of the solution engineering team, we are very closely associated with the problems customers have. So we understand the requirements best. And sometimes this traditional process might lead to loss in feature requirements and product requirements. So what if we can do this as a full stack individual? So one person can understand the customer requirements, do the development work, and finally deliver it to the customer end to end without including anyone in the product chain in between. Yeah. So the customer, so one of our main problems or issues that some customers were facing was, so we have customers who are using drones in remote areas. We have deployments where there is no very low internet connectivity, and they are using satellite connectivity like Starlink, and there are areas with low 4G connectivity, and they were facing some degraded performance on their end. They sometimes used to raise issues like the video feed quality of the drone is very less, because the major use case that our customer use FlytBase for is security and surveillance, drone as first responders, wherein the video feed and reliable mission performance is very crucial. So they were facing issues like this, like fail-safes getting triggered, wherein the drone would return back to the docking station due to low internet connectivity, or the video feed quality was very low. But the main issue that we were facing was we were not able to pinpoint why the issue happened, and the customer would think that this is maybe due to some issues in the software. But what really it was connectivity issues. But as we didn't have any direct dashboard or a UI for customers to visualize that data, they were in dark. Basically, they had to reach out to us. Then we would go to the developers, check their flight logs, what happened, and then revert back to the customer that at this point the network connectivity was low, due to which you are facing these issues. So for that, due to the limited visibility, we weren't able to communicate the issues that we were facing properly, due to which it was taking some time. And the issue resolution was reactive, not really proactive. and the system wasn't able to address issues that it used to take time. Yeah. Yeah, so the customer used to think that the FlytBase dashboard is not able to respond because of some issue, but really it was a connectivity issue. So to visualize all this data, what I did was created a dashboard which can enable the customers to visualize this 4G data, the internet connectivity data, or the flight plan that they've flown their drone to. So to get onto this, so I've built an interactive heat map dashboard. So let's say a customer has executed a flight over a remote area, and in that flight, they have faced multiple issues, like video feed is not coming properly, right? But there is no way to visualize that. So I've created a dashboard which can actually plot data over a map and show it to the customer that at this point, issue has occurred. Yeah, so let me show you a quick demo first. So here is the dashboard. So it currently accepts the organization ID and the flight ID. Flight ID is basically a unique identifier which every flight is assigned to that is executed on FlytBase. So as you can see here, this is one of the flights, and this is in our Pune site. So we have three options. Either we can visualize the Ethernet data over map, the SDR, which stands for the RF link data, the connection between the drone and the docking station. The drone communicates with the docking station using a RF link, or we can also visualize the 4G data. So some drones have 4G dongles mounted over it, so that even if the RC range is low, then the drone is still able to communicate. So in this flight, you can see this is the plot for Ethernet data. You can see the heat map that at some points there is a sudden drop in Ethernet connectivity. The blue spots highlight good internet connectivity, and then there are some areas with red hotspots, right? I'll also show you another flight wherein, yeah. So this is another flight. This is another, kind of a flight that has happened in a remote area. You can clearly see that in this entire flight, there have been multiple issues. Yeah. So in this flight, there was a sudden loss of RF connectivity in this point. So this SDR quality was 60% here, which means the RF strength was fine. And then suddenly the entire connectivity got lost. Similarly, we have plots for Ethernet data. So it shows the Ethernet rate at that point in flight. So if it drops, then the video feed quality might drop. And if the connectivity goes all together, then the drone might trigger a failsafe. That would definitely lead to issues, and it would interrupt flight operations. This is another flight. Yeah. So basically using this dashboard, we can identify the gaps in connectivity and communicate it properly to our customers that this is the cause of the issue, and you can then take steps to rectify it. Yeah, and definitely when they get this data, they can compare multiple flights and then kind of take actions to avoid that. For example, there might be a particular hotspot that they have found in the region that in every flight, there is, every flight, the connectivity is low at some point. Then they might take a different flight route or create a different flight path to avoid that hotspot that is leading to disconnections or low RF connectivity. So that would definitely improve their operation. So the main impact of this for us is like customers would be able to use this dashboard to identify issues on their own. They don't need to reach out to us, because earlier they would reach out to us that during this flight there was these many disconnection. Can you please check on our end? But now we can directly give them results because they have this dashboard and they can see it on their own. Earlier we used to check logs, and then it used to take a lot of time. Also, it gives us time to focus more on strategic customer growth rather than working on issue resolution all the time. And because this takes a lot of time for developers, because we don't have access to these backend logs, but now using these dashboard, we can directly do this. And it also helps developers to work on other things rather than just looking into customer issues, which are dependent on their environmental factors. Yeah. So now I can just go over how I built this dashboard. So firstly, I used Google Colab. So as many of you would know that Google Colab is a tool that is used for creating and executing scripts quickly, right? So so to do this, what I did was I had the API documentation. FlytBase is built on APIs, and using APIs, we can get certain data. So for example, let's say for a flight, I want to get data what happened in that particular flight. So I had this API documentation, and I simply copy and pasted this API documentation basically, and simply, 1 second, yeah, create a script. And once I click on generate, it would directly generate me a script to call this API. So what this does is it gives me certain data. So for a flight, it gives me a very raw data, like what was the RF strength of 4G connectivity during this flight. But this is this is not very clear to understand, and I need a way to visualize this data. This is raw data that we get from our backend. So what I did was then I, directly using Gemini and Chat GPT, I iterated a bit and extracted certain fields from the data that I wanted, like Ethernet quality, the RF quality, and I created a CSV. So when the script is executed, a CSV is created, which contains this data, latitude, longitude, and the associated parameter at that particular time point. So once this is done, I need a way to actually visualize this data, right? So my next step was to use Lovable. So Lovable is a front end. It's a no-code tool which you can use to create dashboards, so the interactive dashboard that customers can use to actually visualize this data that we are getting. So let me show how that works. Yeah. So this is the Lovable dashboard. So to build this, what I did was I wrote that I wanted to host an API using a front end which accepts these parameters like authorization, org ID, and the flight ID of the mission that the user wants to check the connectivity for. And I simply copy and pasted this the script that I generated in Google Colab. So what this script does is it fetches the flight logs API of FlytBase, filters it down because the flight logs API would contain everything, a lot of data that I don't even require. I only require the data for 4G and the Ethernet connectivity. So the script filters that data, right? And this script that I've simply pasted into this Lovable and generated this dashboard. But it was not quite that straightforward because Lovable is a front-end only tool, right? So I was facing multiple issues after this. So once I pasted this, it definitely created the dashboard, but I was not able to actually get the data. So I was getting error like flight data failed to fetch. This was because the coarse error. So our FlytBase backend, you cannot call a API from a front end without enabling it in our backend. And Lovable is an external tool. So it's a front end tool. So we cannot call the APIs directly. So to solve that, like I searched like in multiple places using Claude and Chat GPT, and Lovable also answered that it is better to have your own proxy API server, which simply means that instead of Lovable, the front end calling the APIs, it's better to have your own backend call the API. So what do I mean by my own backend? Which means I use a proxy server, like calling the FlytBase API from a backend. So to do that, what I did was created my own API endpoint using a tool known as Replit. So let me show you how I did that. So here's the app that I deployed. Right. Replit also has AI agent, which you can simply use. So I simply pasted what I want, and I sent it the same Python script that I had created in Colab, and then I told it that I wanted an API endpoint, which I can call from a front end like Lovable. It did its thing and created this app.py. So this is the entire script, and also generated a API endpoint which I can use to call using our front end. So this is the API/flight data, and I simply provided this API endpoint. Now my API is hosted. I provided this URL to Lovable. So yeah, so I provided this URL. So this is my API endpoint, which Lovable can use without facing CORS errors, because now I've enabled because I had to go to the dev team if I wanted to, enable Lovable connected to our backend. I had to go to the development team, and then it would have taken time. But I wanted to deliver it immediately because there was a customer requirement for it. So I created my own backend in Replit, sent this URL, and Lovable was simply able to use this particular API endpoint without facing any CORS error. And finally, I was able to, create this representation, what I've shown here. And also, just to go through it, I'm using Mapbox. So I was not really sure how to represent this data, but yeah, I simply asked Lovable that which service should I use, and it also told me that you could basically use Mapbox. So that was also very easy. I was able to simply send my Mapbox token here in Lovable, and it integrated that easily. So yeah, this is how I created this entire dashboard without even writing a single line of code. And yeah, it's here in front of you. Yeah, I'll just, yeah. So this is very helpful for the product team to directly understand customer requirements and at least build a minimum valuable product, so that they don't have to wait for the product team or the development team to develop this. If there is an immediate need, then customer success teams can get started with these tools very easily, and it's very easy to develop these front ends right now. Yeah. So guys, any questions that you have for me, I would be able to answer.
Awesome. Thank you, Pranjal. Guys, feel free to unmute or put your questions in the chat box. Pranjal will be happy to take that. We have 4 minutes left, so we can take maybe a couple of questions. Anybody with any questions?
Hi Pranjal, this is Sujit.
Yeah.
So our API should be open-ended, right? If it requires some validation or something like that, then can we implement those APIs into Lovable project, or how it is done? Like,
So if you have your own backend, right, like you would use someone's API, but for Lovable to call those API, it has to be enabled in that particular service's backend. So, for example, if a person wants to call FlytBase APIs, then their content needs to be whitelisted or added in our backend. But as I didn't have the option to do that because I had to go to the development team to enable it, and I didn't want to do that at first. So I simply created my own backend on Replit. So Python scripts can easily call these APIs, but front end cannot. So that's why I'm using Replit, so that I can host a Python script on my own API endpoint there, which is simply calling the FlytBase APIs. So as Replit is a backend, it is able to call FlytBase APIs. But front ends like Lovable cannot call it directly, and you will face CORS error. That's how I was able to implement that.
Okay. Means we need to set up a Replit project also to enable our backend to the Lovable.
Or if you have your own platform, you can add in your policies to allow connections from Lovable. That would also work. But if you're using a third-party service APIs, then yeah, you can use Replit on any other similar tool for hosting your Python script.
Okay, Pranjal. Yeah, that was super helpful. Thank you.
Great. Anybody else?
Yeah, not a question, just a comment. Thanks, Pranjal. I think it's very commendable that you chose to focus on customer value as opposed to trying to figure out what was wrong or what had to be done, improved in the product, right? So really appreciate your input on that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jaydev, for that comment. Couple of minutes left. Anybody? Any questions that you have?
Hi, Pranjal. This is Praveen.
Yeah. Hi.
Go ahead, Praveen.
Yeah. I just want a basic question. So this dashboard that you created to solve your customer pain point, is it a standalone dashboard that you created, or you already had a dashboard that your customers were using, and you added this as a page or part of that dashboard?
Yeah. So to deliver this immediately, what I did was I created it as a standalone dashboard. So as you can see here, I had to manually enter these credentials like org ID, flight ID. But this will be implemented directly in our software once, because to deliver it immediately, it takes time, right? I definitely had to go to the development team to integrate this. But yeah, in the future roadmap looks like we'll get a button on the dashboard so that the customer didn't need to even enter these.
Okay. I understand. So actually giving solution was priority, then you will actually embed that.
Yeah.
And what did you use to plot these data points onto a map?
Yeah.
Was it done via Lovable itself, or you had to actually use something else as a plotting system or something like that?
Yeah, so the main work here that was done was the Collab script. The script I created in Collab, right? It filtered the data in such a manner that it's a very short CSV, like latitude, longitude, Ethernet rate. So it's very easy to plot. So the API response of the Replit backend is a JSON format which is created using this CSV. So it's very easy for Lovable to plot directly once it has filtered data. So Lovable was directly able to plot it. I didn't need to do anything else.
Oh, so it only created the background map and then plotted this lat long onto it.
Yeah, it was a simple prompt that plot this data on a map, and then it asked me which map service to use, and I simply chose Mapbox. So it did that for me.
Okay, so you had to provide the Mapbox credentials to it. So then it used that as the map service and then plotted it onto. Okay, great.
Also, I didn't have the Mapbox credentials, so I simply asked Lovable how can I get it, and it was able to guide me through how to get that credential because I had never used Mapbox before.
Okay, that's awesome. Great. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pranjal. Guys, you can have a round of applause to the smileys for Pranjal, and he put up, of course, took out some time to create this presentation and everything, so we can share that. The recording would be available online on our YouTube channel. Kanchi from our team will put the link to the YouTube channel where you can re-watch that. And there are more such hacks available. This was 8th session, so we now have 8 hacks available. And again, see, last 8 sessions we have been taking on the initiative. We have 4 more sessions planned every week, but we want community to come up and also participate. So anybody finding any hacks, please reach out to Kanchi or Slack, and she'll be able to do that. And we want more people to show the hacks and what you're doing. So everybody gets to learn. We also get to learn as well. So if anybody has anything, you can probably drop a message right now in the chat box, and Kanchi will reach out to you over Slack, or you can reach out our Slack group to Kanchi, and we would like to do that. Yeah, I see one more hand up. We are on the time, but anything quickly. You want to quickly tell? Sorry, I didn't catch your name. It says Tony Services. So anybody?
So I wanted to get into the Slack channel. So what do I have to do for that?
Yeah, just go to AI Hackers Collective. We will be dropping a link right now. Just go to that website and it has all the links. So Kanchi is just typing in all, putting in all the links there. So you can go to YouTube, subscribe to that. We have listed all the May events. I think the next one is for the sales team and the business development team, where how to create your own CRM now, and the written nuances where you don't have to look for new CRMs. You can create your own CRMs or PRMs, partner relationship management. So that is the second link of Luma, and third link is of the Slack community. So it takes you to the website of the community, and then you can just enter your details, and it will send you the link or the email shortly. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for joining. Thank you, Pranjal, again for setting this. Thank you, Kanchi, for organizing this, and we'll see you next Thursday. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.